Welcome to the Mother May I podcast with Frank and Irene on Strong Island Entertainment. Gee, I hope I didn't make a mistake with these two. They promised me they'd bring in some really good guests. Well, anyway, here's Frank and Irene.
Welcome to the Mother May I podcast with a very adorable Mr. Frank Conniff, and I am Irene Bremis, and that amazing clip of music that you heard is from our friend Gabby Glazer, former guitarist of Luscious Jackson, playing her badass fucking tune called Balls Out. Frank, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, and I noticed that you have another cute little boyish haircut.
I did. I got my my haircut. There's a place in my neighborhood I really like called COVID Cuts, and I went in there and got my haircut. And the woman who cuts my hair.
I'm just curious.
Go ahead.
How much do they charge you for a haircut?
It's $25, and then I give them a $5 tip, so it's $30 altogether.
Well, that is quite infuriating, Frank. It really is, that a man can walk in and get a cute ass haircut like that, and a girl gets like a trim, and it's like $200.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. When a woman gets, it's a much bigger thing too, right? It's
yeah.
You know,
I mean, that seems like it's very involved.
Well, I have them put in my gray highlights and stuff, so it's quite involved.
I thought you looked young, Frank, and I didn't think. I'm like, why do you always look so young? You have a couple of highlights out front. I absolutely knew it. I knew it. Yeah, where's Millie? She's been the big hit.
She's like over, I don't know if you can see her. She's sleeping on top of the couch over there.
Oh, Millie. Millie's not having it, Frank. She's got her ass to us. She's not joining in today. She's pretty hardcore, like just tapping out and harshing us right now with her ass. Totally
tapping out. I know I heard she was the big hit of our last show, so maybe she'll come back and make an appearance, but
well, maybe. I hope she does. So, Frank, when we were off, I was telling you that I actually went glamping on Governor's Island. It's like a fancy form of camping, and it's really cool. Like, you take this crazy ass boat ride. I went with Carmen Lynch, and we got in this boat from. I want to plug the boat too. It's that boat.
I saw that on Instagram. You guys in the boat.
Did you see that? That guy was going like 120 miles an hour. I'm not even kidding. I almost fell overboard. Really? But I said it's fancy camping, and I'd love for you to come if you're ever into that.
I offered to wear my nipple glamps for this discussion, but I don't have them right now. Now, when you say you went glamping, does that mean like you guys like slept overnight, like in a tent and stuff?
We did. You're not going to believe it. It's amazing. So you take this crazy boat ride over to Governor's Island, which you're thinking, what is Governor's Island? I don't know what it is. I've never really gone to Governor's Island before, but apparently it was like a Confederate.
I've never been.
Do you know about it?
I've never been. I'm not quite on that level where I can go to Governor's Island. They let me go to Lieutenant Governor's Island, but not Governor's Island.
Well, Governor's Island is probably haunted. There's like this Confederate prison there, and they have like these pretty little tents around.
It's haunted.
Wait, say that again?
You said it's haunted?
I think it's haunted for sure. Yeah. It's haunting and haunted. Both.
Okay, go ahead.
You think it is, Frank? Why do you always have to be so vicious when I bring up anything otherworldly or esoteric? You hate it when I do it. But I really, honestly, Frank, we should do like a day trip there. You should see this. And at night, of course, the view is stunning. Lady Liberty at night. You can see the skyline. We're right in front of the Freedom Towers, and the camps are quite spacious. And then they offer culinary cooking classes. It was a lot of fun. I mean, for a short little getaway, it was amazing. And you can do day trips to Governor's Island too.
So it's right off it's right off of Manhattan, in other words, right?
Yeah.
Island?
Yeah. You get on the boat, it's Governor's Island, and then you see the Staten Island ferry going back and forth. It's very upsetting. That's the only thing that I didn't like about it. But it's just a quick little getaway, so I thought I would bring that up. So how have you been?
Camping is not my thing. I don't even think glamping is my thing either. So
not even glamping, Frank. They've got.
I'd like to go
all
and
the
then.
amenities of the hotel.
Oh, okay, well then that's better. If I can have amenities and stuff. I don't like the idea of roughing it.
Yeah, well, I don't like to rough it either, Frank. Do I strike you as somebody that likes to rough it? Are you kidding me? The first question I asked was if they had a blow dryer.
Yeah, so
and
I
nipple
think
clamps or glamping. Anyway, I'm sorry. You know what's going on right now? It's my fault. My computer is like choppy and we're stepping over each other. And Frank told me that my computer is probably getting old because it's hissing. And so I have to get my computer fixed.
my computer
what-
hisses too, but only when I do my stand-up act.
But your computer isn't cutting in and out like my computer though, Frank. Your computer seems to be smooth. But I'm going to take it.
Yeah, your computer is a little drunk right now.
My computer is really fucked up on acid right now is what's happening, okay? And it's tripping out hardcore. So that's what's happening. So what have you been doing for the past week, Frank? Anything interesting? Nice you going on your walks? I know that you're going on your walks.
Yeah, I never have anything interesting to report about my life these days because it's always the same thing every day because of I'm still in lockdown. Although the big change I've made is I've stopped wearing my mask outdoors. And by the way, I'm the only one in my neighborhood that is doing that. Everyone else is still wearing their mask, but I'm fully vaxxed like a motherfucker. And when I'm out, they said it's okay. The CDC said you can not wear a mask outdoors, so I'm totally doing that. So that's the big event in my life. You're doing that,
Frank. That's the big event in your life, and you're fucking owning it. I saw your Instagram, Frank. It's weird because I've also noticed that in the city, I had to when I was in the city, I was wearing a mask. And then I took my mask off, and then I felt like I was doing something wrong because everybody is continuing to wear their mask in the city.
Yeah, everybody in New York still has their masks on. But nobody's hassling me about it because I'm not breaking any laws or anything, or I'm not going against.
You're not breaking any laws. So,
yeah.
So fuck everybody, sweetie. That's what I'm talking about. Fuck them. I know, but it felt like we were kind of breaking a law, So anyway, enough about that. I still have to come take you out. We need to make a plan to actually get out. But I swear to God, I get in the car now and there's so much traffic. I want to actually kill somebody. I mean, I don't even know what to do about.
I've heard that. I've heard that there's been a lot more traffic now.
No, have you really heard that there's a lot more traffic now? Because there is. There's crazy amount of traffic. It's been crazy.
Yeah, while the pandemic was really going, there wasn't a lot of traffic. Although I live right by the FDR Drive, and it's always been busy.
It's always been busy, but you have not experienced traffic. Steve is trying to sneak into the room right now to get something. You got to say hi to Frank, Steve. For God's sakes, don't be rude.
I have to go out.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. We're just shooting the shit. Oh my God.
Hey,
Frank, it's interesting when you have.
If Millie can be in my feed, Steve can be in your feed. It's okay.
That's right. Except Millie is, Steve isn't as kind as Millie though. When Millie's showing us her ass, Steve is showing us his face. Thank God. So we have a little bit of love in this room. It's interesting when I see Frank. who I consider, what's her name? Our friend Kathleen and I both call you our, like, I don't know what you want to call it, our husband, the other husband. So then there's this husband, and then there's Frank, and it's like my worlds are colliding. It's like a fucking novella. It's like Frank meets Steve. Okay, there's a lot going on.
I am like a husband to both of you because I don't get any sex. So.
Oh my God! Yes, you are, Mr. Conniff. So, have you seen anything on Netflix that I would love, I would love to watch? Because I'm still watching while the rest of the world is moving. I'm still binge watching. Anything worthy?
You know what I started watching it's on Apple TV, and it's called For All Mankind, and I didn't know anything about it, but it is a very interesting premise. It's like an alternate history of the space program, like so it's a little sci-fi.
Really?
And it's the opening scene of the show in the first episode is everybody is watching the moon landing, which those of us old enough all remember from 1969 when everyone was gathered around the TV and everyone was excited about the moon landing, and then they're covering it on TV and the astronaut comes down the ladder. Wow. And then the commentators are like, we're about to hear the first words ever said on the moon. And then the astronaut speaks and it's all in Russian because in this alternative universe, the Russians landed on the moon first.
Wow. I love it.
Yeah. It's like an interesting premise. And then also in the first episode, they have there's some big meeting about the space program, and then you hear the announcer go, Senator Ted Kennedy canceled his plans to go to Chappaquiddick and is going to this meeting instead. So then you realize right away it's an alternate history, and Ted Kennedy is going to become president in 1972, which is what happens. So it's a pretty and it's a very well acted show. I'm enjoying it.
Really? Oh, anybody we know acting in it? Who's or are these unknowns that are just sort of breakouts?
No, they're not unknowns, but there are a couple. There is one guy I know who's in it. He's a friend of mine. He lives in LA. He's a great actor.
Really? Who?
James Urbaniak, who you would recognize. He's been in a lot of stuff, and
right.
I've done like comedy shows. Shows and stuff with him, and I've appeared at a lot of Comic Cons with him because he's in the Venture Brothers animated series, which the geeks love the way they love Mystery Science Theater. So I've hung out with him at like Dragon Con in Atlanta and stuff. Really talented, really great guy.
And it's always nice to see like the guy that you see in so many movies throughout a long period of time finally fucking kind of do his own thing, you know, and you're like, oh, it's so nice to see them grow in their careers. I saw Thunderbird. Have you seen that with Melissa McCarthy?
No, I haven't.
It's a comedy. And Justin Bateman. It was such a disappointment. I don't know how anybody else feels about it, but it's supposed to be like this amazing movie on female empowerment. They get these superpowers, but I was a little disappointed with it. I'm going to bring on our guest who's amazing, and I'm so happy he could be here with us today. And thank God my computer's actually less choppy right now as we're bringing him on. This guy is not only...
Hello? Irene, I think you've frozen.
To the show, everybody.
So no, here's what's hilarious. You said this guy's not only, and then you froze, and when you came back, it was just like, and welcome to the show. So it was
like, my God, see?
It was an introduction perfectly befitting of me, which is, I know that guy, but I don't know from where, and they still don't, which is great.
Well, we know
right, because you've been in a lot of stuff. Actually, you've been in a lot of films. Haven't you done a lot of TV work?
Oh yeah, I've probably done about, I don't know, I don't know, over my career, maybe like 20 something TV shows. And
Wow.
I mean, television appearances are countless
I'm like-
because, but I mean, I don't know. It's funny. I was hearing you talk about James Urbaniak. And the funny thing is, you were like, it's good to see somebody get their own thing. And sometimes that's a bad thing, because I was having a conversation with my wife yesterday. I forget the actor we were looking at. And I was like, yeah, that guy works all the time because he is like the perfect character actor. And when you're like the perfect character actor, you have this chameleon like, quality that allows you to be all at once very, very good and then immediately forgettable. So that when you're in the next role, you assume the role. Like the role, no one looks at the role that you're playing and says, oh, there's George Clooney playing such and such. No, you just become that character. And as a result, you see these like really good character actors, they never stop working. They're just always working. Like they have 25, 30-year careers where they're in 300 films. And, it's really very cool. I mean, I would much rather be.
It is very cool. Now, you also, have you done a lot of, I mean, obviously you've done comedy stuff, but have you done any like dramatic films? Like I had a management company that only submitted me for acting, and I found it a very hard transition to go into like dramatic acting. Have you studied? Like, how do you find as
I've never studied, but I am naturally dramatic. So I am the biggest drama queen you'll ever meet. And so I did have a legit agent for a minute who was submitting me for nothing but dramatic roles. And I ended up booking Kevin Can Wait, booking a Chris Rock movie, an Adam Sandler movie, and something. So it was all comedy roles. So clearly the people were looking at me and they were like, oh, that guy. Yeah. And the dramatic stuff I never booked, even though I find it easier to play.
That's interesting that you say that.
Yeah. You know why? Because I'm kind of a naturally depressed, angry person. So playing drama is simply easy for me.
If you can act, you can do both, and I've heard everybody say that, really good actors say that when they play a comedy role, they approach it just as they would a dramatic role. It's like the same thing.
It is
just to play a character. I'm very versatile, and that I can do comedy roles, and I can also do comedy roles that aren't funny. So I can both. You see.
That's funny. That's great. Hey, Frank, by the way, man, I follow you on Twitter, and you, my friend, are fire. You are, you are hot lava on Twitter, bro. Anybody who gets in your way, man, they have no idea, but they are about to suck down a flamethrower. It is rough. I love it. I love your stuff. And it's so funny. I get a little jealous sometimes. I gotta be honest. I hate myself for having to have these feelings. But there are times when I read your stuff and I'm like, fuck, I could have thought of that. That's so true and funny and smart. Oh, I'm such an idiot loser. Like it makes because it's like, you don't get like too. You keep it simple, but then it's poignant and true and really cool, man. It's good stuff.
Oh, well, thank you. I really appreciate that, because you make me feel like I haven't wasted my time on Twitter like I do every day.
No, I mean, if you were on TikTok, I'd be saying, no matter what you.
I downloaded TikTok. I've never been on it, but I've watched it, and it really seems like TikTok is so much for the young kids. It's like it's their thing. It feels like if I got on it, it would be like, like one of those episodes of the Lucy Show where she went undercover as a hippie to to spy on her kids. I just feel like TikTok. It feels like I'm not in the proper age group to be on TikTok. Are you on TikTok?
No, I'm not. I don't think anybody is in a proper age
Irene,
group to be on TikTok.
We can't hear you, Irene, or I can't hear you.
Irene's on mute.
Unmute yourself, Irene.
I wish I had a
computer issues. There we go. But I was enjoying the conversation. My computer.
I love
First of all,
I love how you're walking around your house looking all glamorous.
Beautiful.
Your hair is like kind of wafting as you walk about. The lighting is changing. You're very glamorous.
I'm very glamorous, sweetie. You were so sweet for calling out all the stuff that you said about Frank. I had to move because my Wi-Fi, you guys are frozen the whole time and I can't hear what you're saying, but I did hear what you were saying about Frank. And Frank's tweets are second to none. I will absolutely say here to that. And don't worry, Frank. TikTok is for the young and the vapid. That's what I always say. Thanks to COVID, TikTok is now AARP eligible, because before that we didn't have people in their 50s on TikTok and in their late 40s on TikTok.
Yeah. Well, I don't get it. I don't understand TikTok. I mean, listen, I watched it once for 12 days and and then I was like, what am I doing? But yeah, it's very hypnotic. It pulls you in. And then because everything is so short, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and then the next thing comes on automatically. It's like you can lose hours of your life. It reminds me of Harry Potter, where he found this mirror, and whatever you want in life, you see it in the mirror. And then and Dumbledore is just like, many a men have lost their lives standing in that mirror, it's because it's like everything you want is there instead of going out and getting it in real life. And to me, that's a lot of the internet. A lot of social media is everything you want in life, kind of like packed inside this little electronic box, but it's kind of like a Pandora's box, because you can spend a lot of time living vicariously through this instead of experiencing things.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You're right.
I also, one thing I've noticed is I'm so old that for a long time in my life, there was no internet. I wasn't around for a long time before the internet. And back then, people like me who were really into music and into movies and had all this knowledge about stuff, it's like we accumulated it over the years, and you kind of developed a passion that was really a part of your life. But now people just get the knowledge from going on Wikipedia,
Yeah.
And it's kind of not the same thing.
Well, the other thing that's not the same is that
knowledge by going on Wikipedia.
Yeah, everything is curated now. That's what I the thing I don't like. So for instance, of course I have Spotify and all that crap, Amazon Music, right? Because I like music too. As a matter of fact, I just started listening again lately. I didn't realize that a lot of my life I was really cranky and just kind of depressed. And my wife said to me, you used to listen to a lot of music. I don't ever see you listening to music anymore. And I realized, damn, it's like I'm kind of depressed, because music is really, there's something spiritual and uplifting about it, and cathartic and therapeutic. Mm-hmm. So I started listening again, and what I realized is it tells you what you like. And I would get mad because it's like, you want this. And I'm like, I don't want that. How you going to tell me what I want?
Jeff, don't tell me what I like. But Chuck, have you seen that documentary that's absolutely traumatizing? It's called The Social Experiment. Have you seen that? On Netflix?
So.
You have to.
I don't think so.
It's all about what you're talking about. It's like the implanting, the constant interruption throughout the day, telling you what you like, giving more. It's almost like, it's like a heroin. You're chasing the dragon. It's like an addiction, and they keep telling you what you like because they're reading into your feed and they're just giving you more of what they think that you want to see.
Yes. So all of my musical taste, which is pretty varied, comes from experiences. Okay, so for instance, when I was a little kid, my grandmother, she used to work in the jazz world as a cosmetologist. She did everybody's hair, and she did like the men got their hair done too. You know, it wasn't like it is now. The men, black men, they would get their hair. They called it dyed and fried and laid to the side. You know, they would.
I love
so
it.
they would.
Making me hot.
They would. They would relax their hair so they could have certain hairstyles. So anyway, she did like Cab Calloway, and she was in Philadelphia. Jimmy Heath and the Heath brothers, Sarah Vaughan. You know, she did all these people's hair, right? And so she would, like, when I would ever go over her house, she would put on records, and she'd be like, "This is such and such. You know, this is Thelonious Monk," and she would play a record, and I hated it. I was like, "Ugh, this is awful," because I'm like 5, right? And then I got to tell you, when I got into high school and started seeking out music, I started seeking out jazz music, and I really grew in jazz. And then when I was in high school, you know, I went to a all boys college prep school. And so because it was academic, it was like very diverse, because it wasn't about like your zip code or how much money you had. It was all about how smart you were. And so, you know, it was white, black, Asian, Latino, like all these different guys. And as a result, everybody kind of shared and cross-pollinated music. So I got into, you know, Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin and The Who and, you know, and, salsa and, you know, like Cuban Afro jazz and all this music that I found. And then you start seeking that out for yourself. And then back when I was a kid, we had radio, you know, so you turn on the radio and they just played a bunch of stuff. And you were like, I like that. Oh, I like that. And we also had something called the record store. And you go in the record store, and if you were friends with the record people, they'd be like, yo, man, you got to check this out. Or you should check this. Oh, you like that? Well, you should also check out this, you know. And it was all about discovery. Now a freaking computer tells you, listen to this. And that's it.
That's so true.
Yeah.
You know, it's what happens to me is because like sometimes in the line of my work, which is partly like making fun of and writing jokes along to bad movies, I'll rent a bad movie on Amazon. And then I'll get a message, you know, along the lines of, "Oh, well, you like this shitty movie? Well, here's another shitty movie." like they think that I have like
the algorithm thinks you have awful taste.
It does.
I know. It's embarrassing too, because God forbid anybody sees your it's almost like the new browsing history. Same thing. Like, oh my God, you think that you're going to be judged on your algorithm? It's humiliating, really, honestly. See like a bad movie once in a while. Yeah.
But somebody was talking about getting trapped by these.
Chuck, I love that your mother worked in blues. You know, I worked at Zinc Bar for a really long time. I worked at a blues jazz bar for years. And we had like Jeff Tain Watts in there and all these amazing jazz musicians that used to come down. And Afro-Cuban was probably my favorite kind of music at the time. Do you guys remember SOBs at all?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, of course.
It was
yeah.
Oh, yeah?
That was on Varick.
Yeah. On Varick, right? And now it's closed down. But that's amazing that your mother
great.
Yeah, it was my grandmother, just by the way.
Your grandmother. Sorry. I just made you 70. I'm sorry for that. That's
okay. That's all right. They're both dead, so it's fine. I'm sure they won't mind.
When you grow up in New York, there are so many great clubs that were around. It's so depressing that they're not around anymore. And like if you're on like Bleecker Street, you know, I don't even know what kind of what used to be the Village Gate is now a nail salon, you know. And you go to St. Mark's Place. You go to St. Mark's Place, and what used to be the 5 spot is like a clothing store, and it just really is very disconcerting, you know. And even like you know, the
He's great.
the Bleecker Street Cinema isn't there anymore. And, you know, I mean, that's the thing. And I'm not one to say, oh, the internet is horrible. Technology is horrible. Technology gives us so many things. It's so positive in so many ways, but it does take away things, you know. And there's a whole culture in New York that's gone now of just going to a magazine store, you know, and just browse, going to a bookstore and browse for hours, going to a record store. And, you know, you could, if you didn't have much money and didn't have much to do, you could make a whole night in New York of just walking downtown and going from record store to record store, just standing, reading the liner notes, not even buying anything, you know. Yeah. And you can do all that on the computer now.
That's why they all went out of business.
Record store, just like going in and looking at the records. Do you remember that, Frank? It was on Bleecker Street.
Well, you know what? Just thinking of records, album cover art, that's gone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, and if you ever tried rolling a joint on a CD, it doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work. But cocaine works perfectly on a CD.
That's
Frank.
so true. Very true. Yes.
That is so true. Amazing. So let's talk about what you've been doing with comedy, sweetie. So have you been getting out now that the clubs are reopening?
Oh, man, I never stopped. I mean, so I didn't go and do there was a little circuit for a while, what I call the COVID circuit. So there were clubs down in Florida, a couple clubs in Arizona, couple clubs in Texas, every place where people were just dying and should never have come out of their house. They were crowding in the comedy clubs and watching people, you know. So I didn't do that, but there were a lot of outdoor shows and stuff. I did all that crap, events. You know. This was the time that I found that comedy is an addiction for me. It's not really a job. It's I don't know. If they could put it in a liquid and I could just shoot it in my veins, I would be okay. You know, I would never have to go on stage. So, you know, it's like something happens to me if I don't get on stage. I think it's more of it's not just an addiction, but I need the anxiety. Although I suffer from anxiety disorder, I need to make myself anxious with comedy, going on stage, trying out jokes, not knowing if they're going to work. That whole neuroses, I need that. So I never stop.
Well, you know what they give you when you have anxiety, they give you Ritalin, which is sometimes anxiety counteracts anxiety. And you know what? One of the things that I missed most, and believe me, I was kind of getting sick of stand-up, the travel, all the things leading up to stand-up were exhausting for me. Like the late nights, the shows, the traveling. Yeah. But I realized, and you're right, to your point, I definitely missed being able to try jokes out in front of a live audience. That I definitely missed a lot. Yeah. So,
that's the fun of it. I mean, that's the most fun thing about comedy is it's taking a joke that failed and turning it into a killer bit. That and most people, when they see comedians, they don't realize that most of your funniest jokes, that's how they started. They started as something, and you're like, I know that's funny. Right. I mean, I can't believe you didn't get. I know what's going on. I know for a fact that's. And then you keep working on it, and then before you know it, you know, you find the key that unlocks the funny in the joke, whatever it is, and then that becomes like a killer bit. So you know, I'm still going out. I'm still getting up. I'm still doing. You know, I only work weekends, which you know. I'm sure there's a lot of comedians who look at me and they're like, that guy ain't good enough where he only has to come in here on the weekends. I don't get it. But I'm like, yeah, I've been doing this a very long time. Okay. So, you know, the guys who own the clubs are not going to be like, Chuck, you got to be in here on a Tuesday night. You know, you know. But yeah, I mean, I love it. I love that the clubs are open again. I did some shows, not this past weekend because it was Mother's Day. So I went to Philadelphia to be with my family. But the weekend, every weekend before that, I've been getting up somewhere, and it's just, you know, it's been great. People are weird. Audiences are weird. Some of them are like, yeah, let's just stop the pretense. Forget the jokes. Let's all just have sex right now. Like some audiences are like that. And then some audiences, you can tell there's this great trepidation. They're just kind of like uncomfortable with the whole premise of being out and they're weird. They're I call them the business laughers. They're like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
Those kind of laughers have always been around in my experience.
That's true.
Yeah, those laughers, you know what? There's what is that? False encouragement. It's like, you're great, you suck. It's fantastic. It's like, fucks with your head with that.
That's how the laugh starts. Like, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Oh, I hate you.
I think a lot of audiences need one or two people. I think it really helps a lot if there's one or two people in the audience who are uninhibited laughers.
Yes.
Because that makes it, then everyone else relaxes and they can laugh too. Nobody wants to be the only person laughing and being very, I remember like years ago, a friend of mine was on stage at like a small club and he was really, really funny. But I was the only one laughing. And every time I laughed, everyone in the audience stood and stared at me like, what's the matter with you? And I'm like, what's the matter with me is I'm the only one here who knows how funny this guy is. You fucking assholes.
Right. Yeah.
But people need that.
And those laughing is funny.
Yeah. You need to have good laughers in the audience to make the whole audience. Because sometimes you can get an audience that's like those business people you just said. They'll laugh and then they stop and then they laugh and then they stop. And then when you get off stage, like you're like, I got laughs, but there was something really unsatisfying about that show.
Yeah, because they weren't, you know what it is? They're not connected. The people who become uninhibited, they're connecting and that's why they're relaxed and they're just having a good time, you know, and the other people, they're self-conscious. Laughing is very personal. Think about it. I mean, before we had all these truly wireless earbuds where you just stick something in your ear, you know, before that, you know, it was easy to tell when somebody was listening to something. They had on headphones or whatever. But now you see somebody with you can't tell that they're having it. And they might just be like on the subway. And you're like, that guy's out of his freaking mind. But he's listening to a podcast or watching something on the phone. And then they're laughing out loud because they got the things in their ears. And you think they're crazy. But if we were all laughing together, it would be totally safe. So, you know.
Right. So, and also laughing in a comedy show it depends on the joke you're laughing at. It's not only that laughter is contagious. It's also people feel like they're being judged when they laugh at a certain joke too.
Well,
there's that.
Don't forget, Irene, in the wake of the pandemic, nobody wants to hear that laughter is contagious.
I'm not taking a vaccine for that. I'm telling you that. I'll be damned if you get me to get a vaccine against laughter. Huh.
Are you double vaccinated, Chuck?
100%. 100%. Sometimes I just want to take my mask off, be like, that's right, bitches.
I'm double vaccinated.
Yeah, I got 2 stabs of the Moderna. So here's the thing. Fortunately for me, I have the good fortune of I do a show with Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson, who is an astrophysicist. The show is called Star Talk, and we basically take science and talk about it like it's pop culture. And it's funny and it's fun, it's informative. It's a great show. And, we had the good fortune of having many of the doctors and scientists that work on these vaccines and solutions to pandemics and have been for 20 some odd years. I mean, there are epidemics that have happened we've been very close to this many, many times. Many times in America, we've been very close to this. This was a perfect storm of so many things that coincided with an administration that dismantled many mechanisms that would have allowed us to be on top of this and to take care of it properly. It didn't have to be this way, to be honest. And, I hear people complaining and they're like, yeah, they had no right to stop people from going to work. I'm like, and then they'll turn around and tell me that they're a Trump fan. And I'm like, bro, you can't have it both ways. You cannot have it both ways. We didn't have to do this. The original estimate for this pandemic, as a pandemic in America, was somewhere around 70,000 deaths, which is a bit more than the flu. The flu is somewhere around 36 per year, right? The flu is around 36,000 a year. This was going to be like double the flu. And because of the way we handled
right, absolutely. And they kept saying that they kept paralleling it to the flu. So you're right. They were just like lenient, like this is not, they weren't as emphatic as they should have been. You're absolutely right.
And what happened was it ended up being 500,000 and it really should have been somewhere around 75,000. Because if we had done everything that we were supposed to do, that's what it probably would have been. There still would have been a shutdown. But there would have been containment. If everybody would have wore a mask, if everything wasn't politicized, if it didn't become a debate of whether or not your face holes had rights and all that kind of stuff, like we would have handled this, And so I had the good fortune of like working with many of these scientists and found out a lot of information, like that the Moderna and the Pfizer mRNA vaccines were in development for 10 years before this. So people had this perception that we came out with this new vaccine, new way of treating something, and then all of a sudden they approved it. No, it was here for 10 years because of SARS.
There should have been more emphasis on that. There should have been more emphasis because that really instilled a lot of fear in a lot of communities. A lot of people didn't want it. This is important what you're saying.
Yeah,
this wasn't. I didn't. Not recently, but I found that out later.
Yeah, and it's a shame because once we're talking to these scientists, and on the show, and we're finding out all this information, and I would say exactly what you just said, Irene, which is, how come nobody's saying this? And then they wouldn't say anything, and then I realized it's because the administration had put a clamp on information because they felt as though information would propagate people's fears and would also make people less likely to would make people more likely to blame the administration. And so, so that leads to the virus becoming politicized. And once you politicize anything medical, it's over. People pick sides, they draw their line, and then they're like, well, this is where I am. This is me now.
That's right. And there's a lot of casualties. Once you politicize anything, there's going to be a lot of casualties. You're absolutely right.
So it was really unfortunate.
When you hear about genetic coding, that was one of the things that really popped out into people's heads. You know what I mean? There's going to be genetic coding. It sounds like something very daunting because we're just not used to it. When in fact, we've been working on this for like a decade prior.
Yes. And the funny thing about the genetics part of this is people will say, well, I don't want something changing my DNA. And here's what happened with that. They're conflating the fact that, the Nobel Peace Prize was given this year to a woman and her counterpart who basically came up with CRISPR, which is a gene editing technology that does change your DNA. And they made that association to the vaccine, the mRNA vaccine, which does not do anything to your DNA. It uses the virus's DNA against the virus. That's what it does. So that's people got that all twisted up. It's a shame. This whole thing was just really effed up.
Very much so.
Mishandled.
I wasted months drinking bleach, and it did nothing.
Yeah, they injected it. Nothing at all.
Yeah.
Nothing
but
at all.
My poops are so clean. Got the cleanest poop ever, man.
He's a crazy. Frank, you're a leader. Gerard Mikulowski.
Laughter
rules the day.
Amen to that.
Yeah, Frank is the best.
Nick
Yeah. So,
Lasky.
but you know, the great thing about working in, you know, in science communication is that it puts you in a place where you just get to see so much of what we are wasting our time on is such bullshit. Like it's people. I just, if I have one wish in the world, I would wish that everyone would be scientifically literate, because that would solve so many problems, you know?
And they can't be, we're getting the information out.
True. Yeah. Well, there you have it. Really. It's all about priorities, you know? It's all about priorities. But yeah.
And, you know, we might even be, this might just be, you know, a small inkling of the shit we're going to have to go through with climate change and stuff. And people are so,
Right. Good point.
you know, people are so anti-science, and they're calling that a hoax. They called COVID a hoax, but they also say that it was created in a lab in China. Was it a hoax, or was it created in a lab in China? They change their story every day, but it's fun to make fun of it, but it really is literally killing people, the attitude.
And so is climate change. So when you look right behind me, right here, I have this thing, and it says, "Shh, it's real," because I started an organization that seeks to educate people about climate through entertainment. And the idea is that we know about climate change, but we're not doing anything about it because it's just not a priority, you know? And the truth is, until we start looking at this as a personal problem, nothing will be done about it. Because when you look at it as a personal problem, it gives leadership the permission to do something. And right now, you have half the country that doesn't want anything done about it because they're like, it's going to cost too much money. You know, and it's like, okay, one double hurricane, you're looking at how many billions of dollars, right? You're looking at a couple $1 billion in damage. Who do you think pays for that? When they say FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Association, what is federal? Okay, federal is your freaking money. You are paying for this crap. So why not take the billions that we're paying to clean up mess and put it into perhaps preventing it from happening in the first place? And so, you know, that's something that people just don't understand. They don't get it. They just don't get it. And the politicians, once again, this is what I say. Look at what a politician is voting for. Forget what they say. Look at what they're voting for, or look at what they're not voting for. And that's where their interest is. And if none of those things line up with you, the person is screwing you, because they turn to you, as they call it, two-faced. They turn to you and they go, yeah, we got to do something about good paying jobs. And we got to do something about education. And we have to do something. And then they turn around and say,
not doing anything.
Then they say, yeah, but no, we can't do anything about climate change, which, got to say, is the biggest jobs plan that anybody could ever have.
Right.
Yeah, you can't get a better jobs plan than fighting climate change. I was supposed to be funny, guys. I'm so sorry. I am such a downer.
No, oh my God.
Hey,
You want to be funny and look at me. I'm like, Jesus, God, I'm the worst.
This is amazing. It's so informative. It's, you know, it strays off our agenda. We talk about dick jokes, but it's a little upsetting. No, this is.
If you want to see climate change, watch me go on stage at a comedy club, and the climate change is from people being happy to people being sad. There's climate change.
I love it. Yeah, I've been doing a bit of that too, man. I got some new stuff on race. I've never done anything about race before in my act, you know, but and it's normally because I can't find a way to do it. And, you know, I hate to say I don't want to offend anybody when I talk about it, because that makes it sound like you're being like an apologist or you're being like a pussy. But what I find is with these sensitive issues, if you're not making people laugh, they're not hearing what you're saying. So I just don't want to get up there and talk about race and piss a bunch of people off. You know, I want to talk about it that makes you think like, oh, okay. After you laugh, like, oh, okay. You know, and it always starts off great because I say, all right, race. I want to talk. And then everybody tightens up. I'm like, look at that. Everybody getting all tight. All right, forget that. Abortion. Right. And then, of course, like everybody's like, oh. And then, you know, but the funny thing is it's all brand new material. So like some of it is working. And then some of it is like, I'm like, okay, that's just too real. That's too real. Y'all got to be honest with me. Like, yeah.
Well, you have to take your own advice, Chuck, and just kind of work through it. You know, if you feel like you believe in it, there's always a time where you are the joke repeatedly isn't working. We know we have to throw it out. But if you feel like there's something funny, you know what I mean? Even if it is like pushing that envelope, you know, and you believe that you can get it, you know, work on it a little bit, then you can make it work.
So here's my problem. When stuff is like super, super real, right? I spend too much time around scientists. When the stuff is super, super real, like you should, that's not what you want to bring to the stage. Like the super realness of it. You want to find something that matches that and it's funny. And so I keep I keep bringing the reality to the stage, and that's what's not funny. Whenever the jokes work, it's that reality that I'm bringing that I got to work on, and I wish I could. You know, I'm still working on it. I'm not going to give up on it. I'm still working on it because I don't think that talking about race is like, you know, most people don't go to a club to think about real serious stuff.
No.
Right. You go to a state. That's true.
Right. So I want it to be funny. You know what I mean? I don't want you to sit there thinking about real shit. You could do that at home. Shit. You could watch. I was watching the news the other day and I turned it off and tweeted out, just turned off the news. I'm putting on The Handmaid's Tale so I can cheer up, you know, because the news is.
Yeah. I stopped, you know, I've always been a big news junkie, but in the pandemic, like I stopped watching a lot of news. I just wanted to escape. I watched the Andy Griffith Show. You know, I'm like, get away from all this shit.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So people,
much Frank. I can't freaking love Frank Conniff more than I already do. But then I do. Then I love him more than I already do. Yes. Well, it's better than what they offered us in the fucking heat of COVID. They had the Jeffrey Epstein doc on the whole time. We're losing our minds, and that's the only thing that was like trending on Netflix. I don't know if you all remember that. Calm down with a monster.
I didn't watch it.
I did watch it. I couldn't resist. It was
that's so dark for me. Like, you know, because now to me that's really depressing because you know it's real. And a guy who's just like, and it's what makes it depressing is not even, you know, the child molestation, because I'm fine with that. It's the abuse of power that I really don't like. But you know, the thing that really depresses me is when people have like a lot of money and they're depraved. Somehow money just does something to people where it's like, oh, you're depravity? Yeah, let's overlook that because you gave us like this much money to this foundation, or, you know, you wear really nice clothes. Yeah.
Well, look at, you know, NBC News. When Ronan Farrow worked for them, he came to them with the Harvey Weinstein story, which we now know is like the most impactful news story of one of the most impactful news stories of our time in terms of how it changed the atmosphere and really affected things. And NBC News said they passed on the story. They said, we're not going to air this because they wanted his story about one rapist, Harvey Weinstein. They were afraid it was going to affect the rapist they had in their employ, Matt Lauer.
Oh, that's right.
So they didn't air it. And you know, I used to have this argument with Fugelsang all the time. He would always say, you know, all the news networks care about is ratings. And I would say, well, if all they care about is ratings, why did they pass on the Harvey Weinstein story? You know, and sometimes it's just maintaining power and maintaining the status quo is more important to corporate media than anything else, even ratings.
That makes sense. Yeah. Because that's part of the power structure. And you know, I think that's one of the good things about the internet, though, is that it democratized news information. But at the same time, at the same time, it also made it much more difficult to navigate the treacherous waters of misinformation.
Right.
So, but there's a lot of really good information out there if you know how to consume it. It's unfortunate that right next to really good information is information about chips being in vaccines, which I didn't even know was a real thing. I thought it was a joke until this weekend when I was home and I was sitting around with a bunch of young people and they all freaking believe it. They all think it's true.
That there's chips in vaccines, tortilla or potato?
That's what I said to him. I said, "Are you talking Ruffles or Lay's? What do you do? What do you mean? Like, first of all, it sounds delicious, but I don't. But the fact is that this stuff gets. These kids, they live online. Anybody under like 27, they live their entire life online, and so what happens is you trust the people that send you information. And when your friends believe something and send it to you, you're more inclined to believe it too. And this is how these things proliferate online. And I'm like, I'm talking to these kids. I'm like, so you guys, wait a minute. And then I just started laughing and I was like, you guys got together. You're fucking with me. You knew I was going to be here. You're all doing this right now. And the look on their faces were like, what's wrong with this dude? Because I couldn't believe that they could believe in something so ridiculous as the government creating a worldwide pandemic, which means every single government in the world must be in on this conspiracy, from the highest levels of the government down to your primary care physician. Okay. All of these people must be in on the conspiracy, and they all must keep it quiet in order for Bill Gates to put microchips inside of a vaccine that is attached to a virus that killed 500,000 people in America alone, so that tech companies could track you. And then I said to him, okay.
Eventually that was the beast number. I know. These people are out of their minds. They're like the K-9. What do they call the K-9?
Yeah, the Q9, the K9. Yeah, but I said to them, I said, wait a minute. I said, each one of you has a phone, don't you? And they said, yeah. I said, well, you're being tracked right now, every single day, by your own free will. And you're giving them more information than a chip ever could. So what makes you think that all that crap had to happen so you could be tracked? But by the way, ain't nobody trying to track your broke ass anyway.
Exactly. You're not that important. Get over yourself. Exactly.
I like the idea. I like the idea of being tracked by the vaccine. It makes me feel less alone. That someone's watching me the whole time.
Exactly. Right. I'm just in my kitchen like, help! I've fallen and I can't get up. Where are you? Where are you? I got the vaccine.
Crazy stuff. We've got some crazy people out there. That's why we have to keep those. We have to keep information out there. We're running out of time, and mostly my computer has been so messed up this whole show. I feel terrible. You guys were frozen, cutting out. I didn't hear half the stuff that was being said. So I really hope you can come back, because what I did hear was magnificent. You're like amazing. So I hope that we can get you back again. I'm already booking you for the next one if you're free.
Are you kidding me? You guys are so listen, people ask me to be on podcasts all the time. Normally truth is I don't have time, but normally I'm just like, there are 18 million podcasts. Why would I be on your podcast? I don't know you, but when you asked, I was like, of course. Are you kidding me? You guys are the best. Awesome. You guys are the best. So anytime.
Thank you, Chuck. You're so awesome. I mean, so much information. Honestly, thank you for everything that you were saying. Amazing. And now let's get into you. Where can people come see you? Where can they know about what you're doing?
So I'm Chuck Nice Comic all over social media, and I have, like I said, the climate initiative, which is called It's Real, or Shit's Real, SHHH, It's Real. And that's itsreal.com. And you can go there and sign up, and we have some initiatives where we're recruiting people to be climate ambassadors, and all different kinds of things. I have no idea why I'm doing this. I don't get paid. It costs me money, but I feel like I've been taking from life the entire time I've been here. Maybe it's time I do something good and give back. So that's what that's about. And anytime you're in New York City right now, I'm not on the road anywhere, but I'm at a club somewhere in New York every weekend, whether it's Comic Strip Live or sometimes The Cellar or New York Comedy Club in the Village. So always just look for me. Clubs normally post when I'm going to be there. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And I'm always home. If you feel like I live in Hoboken, I'm always home. If you want to come by, it's like I'm a big tea drinker, and I have several herbal teas that we can experience together. So
or smoke together. No, I'm just kidding. Just you can track you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just track me.
You can track you on Instagram. What's your Instagram? At Chuck Nice, right?
At Chuck Nice Comic. At Chuck Nice Comic.
On
Twitter as well. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. And at Chuck Nice Comic. And I would love for you guys to look me up there. And speaking of smoking, I'm thinking about taking up smoking weed. It's legal now. It's legal now. Yeah, I'm all about it. I'm like, I've done it before, but I'm not a smoker. It wouldn't be like it's my first time. But I'm not really drinking anymore. I used to drink a lot because I love it. And, and so now I'm like, you need something to replace it. And I'm thinking about weed, but I don't know how to smoke weed because I smoke it and I get really freaked out. And I mean, little bits, like I just do that. And then like 5 minutes later, I'm freaked out. So I'm like, this isn't for me. But my friend told me that I'm smoking the wrong kind of weed. So he said there's all different kinds of weeds that do different kinds of stuff.
All different kinds of weeds, Chuck. Don't worry. The world's got you. All you have to do is walk into a pot smoke and tell them what you want. They've got weed for every.
Yeah, I don't know if I heard about this new brand of weed that just came out. It gets you high, which sounds good.
I think I might want to try that one.
Well, that's the one I'm interested in.
Because the one I'm doing right now just freaks me out. I'm sitting in the house alone. It
sounds good. It's legal, so you don't have to worry. And it's really funny because I don't smoke pot at all, but when I went away on this glamping trip, I was smoking pot, and it's still weird when you're smoking weed and a cop walks by. It feels so fucking. You're just like smoking, and the cop walking by, and you're like, "What?" You know what I mean? But you still want to kind of hide it. You're always like trying to hide it.
Yeah, anyway, I don't know. I'm black. I'm still gonna try to hide it. Okay, I don't trust it. It's all a setup as far as I'm concerned.
Fuck that. Frank, what's going on with you? You have a show that you need to plug.
I have a show that's tonight at 8 p.m. Live streaming, a Mystery Science Theater style show that Trace Beaulieu and I are doing. We're riffing a movie from 1959 called T-Bird Gang, which is neither fast nor furious. And we're going to be riffing on it, and that's at 8 p.m. tonight. Go to eventbrite.com for tickets. Tickets are only $10. Mike Nelson will be our guest, and a portion goes to Friends in Need Food Shelf in Minnesota, so check it out.
Cool.
You guys are altruistic babes. You know that? I'm Irene Bremis. I'm going to take my choppy ass out of here, and hopefully next Tuesday, I'll have my shit together. Chuck, you were absolutely brilliant. We love you, and we need to have you back. Frank, you're always brilliant. I'm Irene. We'll be back.
Oh, wait. Here's Millie.
Oh, no. Oh, yay.
Let's
see it. Oh, Millie, you come out. You bitch, the headline. Oh, she's got her ass right in our face now. Thank you for that. We're leaving on an anus shot. That's fantastic. That's the money. Oh, Millie, there you go. All right, we'll see you next Tuesday. Thank you for tuning in. Love you guys. Thanks for being part of the show. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Mother May I podcast with Frank and Irene on Strong Island Entertainment. Check us out next week when Frank and Irene sit down with, you know what? I don't know what these two are going to do next, but we'll see you next week.